Renting versus buying a home. Which is right for you? In this video, I'm going to be discussing the benefits of owning a home as well as the benefits of renting a home. And by the end of it, hopefully you can decide which is right for you. Flexibility versus stability. While renting offers flexibility, homeownership offers stability. One of the benefits of renting is the flexibility that comes with it. When you're renting, you're typically only bound by a lease that might last up to 1 or 2 years. And usually you can break that lease with relatively minimal fees associated. So if you plan on hopping from city to city, area to area, or you're just trying to figure out what you want to do, renting might be the best option. While renting offers a nice sense of flexibility, home ownership provides a sense of stability. When you purchase a home, you're investing in the long term, and most likely you plan on staying put for the foreseeable future. That's not to say that you have to, but when you're investing in a home, you know that you could see yourself in here for quite a while. When you're purchasing a home, you get a home base. You get that sense of stability when it comes to where you live, and by gaining the stability of home ownership, you're able to more clearly focus on the other variables in your life. Whether that's locking in on your career, building a family, focusing on a goal that may take years to accomplish, you're able to more clearly lock in on those variables because you're not spending that mental capacity on where will I be next year, what's my next plan. You can focus on making your mortgage payments and staying put, so it's a great sense of stability. Lower initial cost versus equity buildup. With renting, you have a lower initial cost, meaning you might only need to put down for a security deposit, say first month's rent. That's a low cost, a low barrier to entry to renting a place. When you're getting ready to purchase a home, it's a much higher initial cost in the sense that you have to save up for a down payment as well as closing costs associated with the home sale. So while you get lower initial costs with renting, with home ownership, you get the potential for equity buildup. So that initial cost, that down payment that you bring to the closing table, is actually applied toward equity in the property that you're purchasing. From there, on each mortgage payment, you're paying principal and interest. So while on the front end of your mortgage, you are paying higher interest than principal, on every one of your payments, you are going to be paying some degree of principal, which will build equity in the property. Predictable expenses versus long-term investment. One of the benefits associated with renting is that you have predictable expenses. So when you're renting, you might sign a 1 to 2 year lease, and you know what your rent payments are going to be each month. There's not a lot of variable costs associated with renting. And so you can better plan and budget for what your next year is going to look like. This comes with a caveat, because while you do know what your expenses are going to be for a year or two or whenever you're locked into that lease, you are subject to rent increases. So once that lease terminates, they may bump your rent. You may need to look for a new place to live. And overall, the market tends to inflate in terms of cost to rent. And when you're taking on a mortgage, you might be taking on as much as a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, which if you're taking that on, that means that you know exactly what your mortgage payment is going to be for the next 30 years. You may even be able to lower that payment as you build equity over time and refinance that mortgage. So while renting is much more predictable in the short term because you don't have to deal with some of the variable costs that come with ownership, whether that's maintenance or just little home ownership expenses that you might incur, over the long term, it's really hard to predict what rent rates are going to be 5, 10, 15, 30 years from now. Fewer responsibilities versus freedom of ownership. When you're renting, one of the nice benefits is that you have fewer responsibilities. When you're a homeowner, you have to deal with the little problems that come up in your house. Unless you want them to turn into bigger problems and things can escalate. So when the HVAC goes out, or you need to change light bulbs or unclog a toilet, little things like that fall on your shoulders as a homeowner. When you're a renter, those aren't really your responsibility. Now, this does depend on the terms of your lease, but in a large majority of cases, you can call the landlord and they will replace that HVAC equipment. They'll send somebody up to replace the light bulb, fix the drain. Any little inconveniences aren't really your responsibility. So as a homeowner, while you are responsible for quite a bit more, you also have the freedom that comes with ownership. So you can renovate your property, you can have as many people over as you want so long as you're not getting the cops called. You can do almost endless things so long as you're abiding by the rules of the municipality and the HOA if you reside in one. But the freedom of what you can do with your property as a homeowner is so much more vast than what you can do as a renter. So as a homeowner, not only do you have the sense of freedom when it comes to alterations you want to make in your living space, but you also have the sense of investment when you take on these projects. If you choose the right projects, you feel like you are building equity into your property through what we call sweat equity. And this means that you're just improving the property so that when you go to sell in the future, you've made the property more valuable. In fact, there's a name for this. It's called house hacking. And there's a lot of homeowners who actually have the strategy of buying a new home every few years, moving into that home, fixing up the cosmetics and the systems and really improving the house, and then turning to sell it a few years later and maximizing their profit on that sale by building that additional equity through the projects they do. Amenities versus privacy. So when I was thinking of this category, I was really thinking of like the larger apartment complexes. And a caveat to this is that you actually can get these amenities through condo ownership as well. But for the sake of this argument, we will go with renting. So when you're renting in, say, a high-rise apartment, you get to benefit from so many amenities, whether that's a gym, a pool, a spa, maybe there's retail space down below where your favorite coffee shop is. And you really get to tap into some of these amenities, which is such a fun benefit that comes from renting in an apartment complex like that. Having said that, homeownership provides privacy. You don't have to deal with the landlord dropping in just to check in and make sure everything's good, or the new tenants that need to come and tour your unit because they might be moving in when your lease expires. So long as you're making your payments and you're a good standing citizen, nobody really has the right to just enter your home. You have the right to protect your privacy within your home. Privacy is just such a huge benefit of home ownership. So I hope this video was helpful. As I said, there are plenty of benefits associated with renting. There are also lots of benefits associated with buying. So hopefully this video helped you gain some clarity so that you can make the decision on what's right for you.